So, Stump My Nephew, we found out years ago that my nephew Sam is extremely good when it comes to gun trivia. So please send us in a question, gun trivia, gun history, something having to do with guns. He does not get to hear the question prior, so he doesn't get to prepare. If we use your question on the air, you'll get a hat or a shirt. If you stump my nephew, then you'll get a special prize. But good luck doing that. So, Sam, are you there, bud?
Hi.
How you doing, man?
I'm well. How are you guys?
Fantastic. So we've been mixing it up a little bit in the last month. We had some advice, some folks wanted some advice from you, Sam, and now we actually have an in the studio guest here. Chuck is gonna shoot from the hip and send you a trivia question. Do you know Chuck? Have you ever met Chuck, Sam? You ever follow him at all, or see his curriculum, or heard of him, or anything?
I don't believe I've met him. No.
Well, there you go. Sam, meet Chuck. Chuck, my nephew Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, Chuck.
Apparently, we've stumped him already. Because...
Yeah, that's the question. Hey, thanks for coming on, Sam. See you next week. All right, well, let's go. You got a question, Chuck?
So, because I already know the answer, and it's one of the tropes in the gun world that something like you got to have a 45, otherwise you're going to be killed in the streets. So, Sam, do you know what the most commonly issued combat pistol caliber was during World War I?
Oh, that's a good one. Ooh. Should we take that before he answers? Do you guys think he's going to know that? What do you think?
I'm going to say yes. I think he does.
You think he's going to know it?
Yes.
What do you think, Alicia?
I agree. I think he does.
You're like his biggest fan, though, Alicia. I swear. You're like a Sam
I want to adopt him.
fanboy. I know you do. You're like a Sam. I don't think he's going to get it. I think you're
like
going to
this.
I got to go. All right.
This is a good split.
All right. There you go, Sam. So Chuck from San Diego asks.
No, Chuck from Kansas asks.
Or from Kansas asks. Go for it. What do you got?
Well, thank you very much for writing in, Chuck from Kansas. What was the most commonly issued combat handgun caliber in World War I? And you mean just caliber overall, not specific chambering, right?
Well, you could go for a specific, when I say caliber, I mean like round, like 45 ACP as an example.
Most commonly issued. So in World War I do know, first of all, that the situation with military handguns was a little bit different from how it is now. Militaries did have formally adopted handguns that they issued to officers and some other troops, depending on their role. But there was also a very widespread phenomenon, which dates back a long time before that, but this was still the case to some extent in World War I, of officers buying and bringing their own handguns with them. So you would have, for example, Winston Churchill famously used a broom handle Mauser, a C96. He was not issued that. That was his. He brought it with him, and it ended up saving his life. Now, as for the most commonly used caliber, if you want a specific round, I would guess it's probably going to be 32 ACP, because I know all the European powers had this weird kind of mix of different stuff, and many of them had multiple different commonly used handgun rounds. Like you could have someone from the Austro-Hungarian Empire have a C96 that he had bought on his own dime in 7.63, and then a guy next to him with something in 9mm Mauser export, and then the next guy over would have some American pistol like a Browning 1903 that his family had bought in 380 or something. But I know 32 ACP was very common on the European continent, so that's going to be my guess.
That's his guess. Chuck, how do you do?
That is correct.
Wow.
Phenomenal.
We were right. Alicia and I believed in you, Sam.
Yeah, I did. I was ready to sell them right down the river. Hey, so 32 caliber,
I did not expect that, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't.
That's not what I would have.
I wouldn't have gone there.
I just pulled
Well,
something out of my ass.
what's interesting, and give me a little bit of history, Sam. Coming out of Europe, we would expect it to be, something millimeter, but 32 caliber. I think of that. that measurement as being very American. Was there a time when Europe used that and then switched over, or give me a little bit of
Yes.
history there.
And it was more recent than you might think, and I'll get back around to that. 32 ACP is designated 7.65 by 17 SR in metric. It was prevalent really for mainly for engineering reasons, I would argue, because it's a small enough and low enough powered round that using the relatively primitive metallurgy and technology they had around the turn of the last century, it was comparatively easy to design a small, concealable, straight blowback pistol for 32 ACP. A little harder to design something around, say, 9x19, 9mm Luger, 9 Parabellum, whatever you want to call it, because it's a substantially more powerful round, and you really basically need a locked breech for it. It's not strictly necessary, but I won't get into that. 32 ACP is easy to design a gun around because it's so low powered, and you have a wide potential user base because you can make the handgun small and pocketable. It was common in Europe up through at least the 1950s. And one sort of fun fact connected to that is that nowadays you go to the theater, you watch a James Bond movie, or you go on Netflix and watch a James Bond movie, and he has a Walther PPK in 32 ACP.
That's right.
Because that's the gun James Bond has. So that's what he has to have. Originally, the James Bond character in Ian Fleming's novels had some Beretta that was very quickly replaced with that PPK in 32, because the actual former secret agent, sneaky guy who Ian Fleming talked to for technical assistance said, oh yeah, a gentleman assassin in continental Europe would need something reliable and well made, so a Walther PPK at the time, and he would need it chambered for something that he can easily find ammunition for everywhere. Nowadays, that would be 9 Parabellum, but back in the day, that was 32 ACP.
32.
That was the most common round.
Interesting. What do you think, Chuck? Are you impressed yet?
Yeah.
When
I was a kid in Germany, I was actually born over there and lived there for some time. The local cops that would foot patrol the town that we lived in still carried the Walther PP, and that was in the 1970s. They were still carrying 32 pistols. So it was very common. But one of the things I point out is a lot of people think, well, you got to have a 45 to have much stopping power, you know. In the days before hollow points worked and things that, because I also teach things like tactical anatomy. Like I'm an instructor for Dr. James Williams' tactical anatomy instructor course. I help him teach that. I'm his AI. And I talk about wound ballistics, and we look at the attributes of what a dude in trench warfare would want. And a lot of the pistols that shot 32 back then were actually about the size of a Glock 48. So that's just, people gravitate to handguns that size. If you think of like the SIG 365s, the Glock 48, 43X, that size of handgun is just popular with people. So if you've ever shot a Glock 48 or a 9mm that size, you know they're really snappy. Now, take a gun that size, chamber it in 32 ACP, it doesn't recoil a whole lot more than a 22. So you got super easy recoil, accurate gun. You got 8, 9, 10 shots. You have a bullet that will penetrate all the way through a large man. If I'm in a trench fight in the middle of the night and I got instead of a bolt action rifle that can fire one round, I have to cycle it. It's 3-4 feet long. I can't maneuver it in the trench. I've got a handgun with 9, 10 shots that shoots an effective low recoil round. That's kind of a recipe for success.
Interesting.
And
So
it's easier to train people to shoot that.
Yeah, it is easy. It is easy to train people to shoot low recoil handguns, but between the economics of it and the ability to mass produce it and the attributes as a defensive handgun, if you will, it just ended up at the top of the heap. The French army bought millions of 32 pistols.
Wow. Well, there you go, Sam. You got it. Chuck, we got to get you a hat or a shirt since we used your question, but you don't get the special prize. You did not stump my nephew, but awesome job, Sam, as always, man.
Well, as always, thanks for having me on. That was a fun one.
Good. All right, let's move.
If you liked that segment, be sure to give us a like, a comment, and go to youtube.com/gunownersradio and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to share us with a friend. Every view counts.